The tower is in a state of disrepair, and the 10 gods gathered around begin to accept that they have lost. They reflect on the past adventures and wonder if this is truly the end for them. One of whom is Sun Ogong, a platinum white-haired man known as the Great Sage, Heaven's Equal. One believes their situation is hopeless and suggests ending things quickly, while Sun Ogong reminds them that it is not over yet. In a confrontation between Sun Ogong and Hercules, the latter challenges the former's confidence despite being near death himself. Hercules, known for his heroic deeds in Greek mythology, is portrayed as determined to keep fighting despite losing an arm in battle. Sun Ogong, also known as the Monkey King, remains defiant in the face of Hercules' doubts. Hercules facing off against the outer gods, powerful beings from the other realm that are causing chaos and destruction. Despite being an immortal, Hercules is wary of the threat posed by these beings and acknowledges that they could discover his location at any moment. A pure white mass suddenly appeared, catching the attention of all the gods. The person speaking expressed relief at having made it back alive. A man named Yuan miraculously survives a dangerous situation and returns to the gods, who are surprised to see him. He appears tired and is missing the companions who had left with him. How the gods Merlin, Asura, and Vishnu are all dead and unable to come back, as they were likely swallowed up by beings in the other realm. Yuan confirms this, leading to a somber atmosphere. The gods were initially somber, but their mood quickly shifted when they noticed the pure white mass thrown by Yuan. They were shocked by Yuan's response, calling the being a foolish chaos, suggesting that it was not just any ordinary entity. The surviving gods were surprised at the identity of the being, realizing that it was greater than they had anticipated. Yuan discovers that he is facing an outer god in his battle against foolish chaos, coming to the realization that an inner like himself cannot defeat an outer. The beings within the tower, like Yuan, are referred to as inners, while those who have reached the top floor have achieved divinity and a divine name as outers. Even powerful beings cannot compare to the gods of the other realm, whose existence was feared and considered a calamity by others. This realization had been present since the start of a conflict when the gods of the other realm first appeared. The old man, Cronus, spoke of how there is currently no way to win, but hinted at a possibility in the future. He revealed a clock's internal mechanics called Cronus's clock movement. Yuan questioned if this was the only way to succeed. Cronus, who has the ability to control time and wants Yuan to go back to an old world line and start over. Cronus warns that he may have disappeared in the world line Yuan will return to, but it is the only way to change the course of events. Yuan is urged not to waste energy looking for Cronus. The speaker questions their own existence and is told that the disappearance does not matter. The fight has already ended and Yuan wants it to end here, but it is ultimately a loss. Now, they must return, leaving others to question what will happen next. Everyone looks to Yuan for answers. Everyone was waiting for Yuan to make a decision about who would be returning to the past. It had already been decided that someone would be going back, and the only thing left was for Yuan to choose. Despite expecting it, Yuan was surprised to hear that they were the chosen candidate. This decision had been a topic of discussion since the concept of the clock movement was introduced, with Yuan and another person being the main candidates. Yuan and Sun Ogong, with the decision made for Yuan to be chosen for a task despite entering the tower late. The decision was based on Yuan's fast adjustment to the world and quick progression through the tower. Yuan's capabilities are recognized despite his late entrance. The restriction on beings from upper floors in intervening with lower floors of the tower. To bring change to the tower, they must start from lower floors and work their way up. Yuan is seen as the only choice for this task. The clock movement item is mentioned as registering instructions in a person's mind when held. A group of people saying their final farewells and giving advice to Yuan about returning back in time. They warn that their relationship may not be the same and advise Yuan to let it slide if they don't recognize them. They also suggest knocking sense into others who may not understand the situation and, as a last resort, to kill them. Despite their harsh words, they end with a wish for Yuan to have a hard time. Yuan and his companions joining forces after the appearance of the gods of the other realm, despite their initial animosity towards each other. Despite the past differences, they now work together as allies. Yuan reflects on their stubbornness and the unlikely situation they find themselves in. Yuan is filled with worry about gathering a group of people to fight beings from the other world after traveling to the past. He questions if they will be able to succeed and change things for the better. The clock movement starts moving backwards, symbolizing the challenges he will face. Yuan wakes up after his body was rewound instead of being sent back to the past. He realizes that all his stats and powers are now gone, making it difficult to navigate his new situation. He reflects on how different things would be if he could have returned to the past with his previous abilities. The challenges and complexities of sending a physical body back in time compared to just sending the soul back in time. It mentions the issues of having two versions of the same person in the same time period and the greater energy requirement for crossing the timeline. Yuan realizes that they need to start over from scratch due to the difficulty of sending a physical body back in time. Yuan wakes up in the past and tries to determine how far back he has traveled. He is suddenly struck in the face by a man and finds himself in a tense situation. Yuan encounters a man with a well-toned physique, long nose, and a scary expression, prompting him to remember that they both attended Cheongsol University. The man's Letterman jacket triggers memories of his college days, despite the haze of time. Yuan was at the gym on campus trying to remember a guy's name. He became confused during a punch and wondered if an event was happening tomorrow or today. Yuan asks for the date and threatens the other person for punching him. The other person tries to defuse the situation by asking for forgiveness and changing the subject. The man becomes angry and the situation escalates into violence. The man falls to the ground after his head spins, but he insists he doesn't need help because he has his phone. Yuan realizes there was no need to ask for help as he checks the date on his smartphone and looks down at the unconscious man on the floor. Yuan believes that school should be on break and questions if there is anything better to do with free time. He recalls a previous encounter with a person named Kim Myung-hoon, a grade above him, who is known for being cruel in the physical education department. He realizes that he was being targeted by Kim without knowing the reason. On December 31, 2019, Yuan is called over by Kim Myung-hoon to be beaten up for a reason unknown to him. Myung-hoon was late to meet up with friends and was charged a fee for being late. He is not in the mood to talk about why he was late and just wants to drink instead. His friends are confused and frustrated by his attitude. Myung-hoon, feeling the need to get drunk, accepts a drink from his friends and talks about beating up Kim Yuan. Myung-hoon and his friends at a party talking about bullying someone and not feeling responsible if he were to harm himself. Kim Myung-hoon is pleased by his friend's agreement and plans to continue bullying the Yuan later. Despite feeling hazy from the alcohol, one person, Myung-hoon, is able to clear his head and walk away from the situation by throwing his cigarette on the ground. He can then claim that the events of the day never happened. Kim Myung-hoon and his friends encounter Kim Yuan in a crowd, causing Myung-hoon to feel tense and annoyed. Yuan stands still amongst the crowd, holding a luggage case and appearing as though he is waiting for someone. Myung-hoon tries to pretend nothing is wrong, but the presence of Yuan is unsettling to him. Kim Myung-hoon is frustrated to see Kim Yuan before he has a chance to get revenge. His friends are curious about Yuan and decide to greet him, which only adds to the Kim Myung-hoon frustration. He feels determined to seek revenge on Yuan. Kim Myung-hoon is angry and seeking revenge on Yuan after an earlier incident. He gathers a group of friends to confront Yuan, intimidating him with their numbers. The situation looks like it could turn violent. Yuan ignores Myung-hoon's question and instead checks the time on his electronic wristwatch, revealing it is almost 12 o'clock. He then throws the watch to the ground and ominously warns the group that they only have 3 minutes left before something drastic happens. However, his demeanor quickly changes when he sees Yuan pull out threatening weapons from his luggage. Yuan's actions instill fear in Kim Myung-hoon as he brandishes a sashimi knife, Swiss Army knife, machete, an axe, and a mysterious bag. Yuan is seen with weapons hanging on his waist and wielding a sashimi knife while being confronted by a group of people urging him to apologize for something. The scene escalates with people getting frightened and some even considering calling the cops. The situation is tense as the clock is ticking towards midnight. Yuan, in a crowded area in Seoul, reflects on how the location used to be different. He notices a strange phenomenon in the sky, but everyone is distracted by the commotion he is causing with his weapons. In the chaos of the moment, Yuan watches as a strange noise fills the air, causing people to cover their ears and some to even faint. The ground splits apart and new plants emerge,